I'm Dr. Revels, and you're listening to the REVELSations podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Hit the thumbs up and let me know you're listening. I want to start today's verse off with a question. What if I told you that good dogs don't bark? I repeat, what if I told you good dogs don't bark? You might say, Dr. Revels, that's absurd. I have a dog. My dog's a good dog. I see dogs playing and all the time, and they bark. That's what dogs do. They bark. It's a part of their nature. It's a part of what happens. But I would then say, yeah, true, but good dogs don't bark. If your dog's a good dog, your dog would not bark. You would probably come back and say, well, no, just because my dog barks doesn't mean that my dog is bad. And you would actually be right. Am I here to talk about dogs and their barking? Absolutely not. But I am here to talk about how we as a society oftentimes say boys don't cry or boys shouldn't cry, and the impact not only on boys, but on our girls who hear our parents, who hear our leaders say boys don't cry. Let's get into it. It may be a little outdated, but I actually don't think it is. This idea that men need to be strong, men need to be at the forefront. Not that women cannot lead. This is not about that at all. But when push comes to shove, we need our men to step up. We need our men to protect and to provide. And it is said that if one cries, that seems as if they are weak. And since we oftentimes look for men or males for our strength, we have to teach our boys don't cry. Men don't cry, boys don't cry. And I'm a male, and that is impactful. I heard it when I was younger. Stop crying, don't cry, boys don't cry. And when I heard it, I was like, okay, well, I have these feelings, I have these emotions, and they want to come out through tears. But, oh, as a boy, as a young man, I shouldn't cry. And if I do cry, then I am weak. Much like the dog, if he does bark, some might say he's bad. Even though barking for him is natural, and as a human being, I have emotions, and crying may be natural. So it's eating at me as a child. Okay, boys don't cry. All right, well, when I'm feeling this, I have to suppress it. I want to cry, but I can't cry. And I definitely can't cry in front of other people. So, situation arises. I'm hurt as a young man, hurt as a boy, either physically or emotionally. I want to cry, but in the back of my head, I know I shouldn't cry. Why shouldn't I cry? Because leaders told me I shouldn't cry, or my peers told me I shouldn't cry, or society tells me I shouldn't cry. But then I look over at my female counterpart, my sister, my cousins, girls at school, and they can cry. And I'm like, well, I'm a human, they're a human, they have the same emotions I have. They're able to express their emotions, and they're allowed to express their emotions. And oftentimes, when they do express their emotions through tears, they get comfort. They receive empathy and sympathy. If I do, I receive shun and scorn. And okay, fine. I won't cry. I won't cry. And we teach ourselves to suppress those feelings. But it doesn't only impact boys, doesn't only impact males. Telling boys or telling men that men or boys don't cry also impacts females. How so? I'm happy you asked. So, if I'm growing up and my leaders in my society and my friends in my school and all these people are telling me that boys don't cry, don't you think that girls hear that as well? Boys don't cry. Men don't cry. Men shouldn't cry. So then, when a man does cry, the woman thinks, why is he doing that? He shouldn't do that. If he cries, that means there's something wrong with him. He's not as strong as he should have been. He's not as strong as I was told men should be. And not only that, as a female, I am the ruler of emotions. I am the ruler of crying. This is my domain. Nobody else can step into my domain, especially not the other part of the species. Boys don't cry. So then girls hear this. Boys don't cry. So I can be mean to boys. I can harm boys. And you know what? They won't cry. They won't cry. And if they do cry, they are therefore weak are therefore not as strong, or therefore stepping into my territory. Much like good dogs don't bark. And if the dog does bark, that means he or she is a bad dog. Just as it is absurd that we would say good dogs don't bark, it is equally absurd to say or think boys don't, or boys, more importantly, shouldn't cry. And the impact that boys have, that males have on the fact that we can't cry, oftentimes lead us to hiding our feelings from people who say that they love us. How does that impact us? It impacts us by, we still have the feelings, we just suppress them. And then oftentimes they come out, and they come out in rage, or they come out in anger, or they come out in depression, or they come out in drug abuse, or they come out in alcohol abuse. And is that what we want? Is that the desired result? So boys are not crying, but they're abusing. Boys are not crying, but they're hitting. Boys are not crying, yet we are dying. So it does impact us. Boys don't cry. Yes, we do. Boys shouldn't cry. Why not? We have those emotions. And when our female counterparts hear that, it is added pressure. So not only do we say to ourselves, we shouldn't cry, we know that the women know, or the females know, or our sisters know that we shouldn't cry either. And we will turn our face or run away instead of sharing that raw emotion with them to say, you know what? I'm a human being just like you, and I'm hurt. Much like the good dog barks, and maybe the bad dog barks as well. Barking doesn't make the good dog bad, much like crying doesn't make a man weak. Crying doesn't make a woman weak. See, there could be strength in tears. This hurt me. I'm a human being. I emote. But I push through anyway. The weakness is allowing that whatever occurred to stop us from persevering and pushing on. The tears are not weakness. The tears are a sign that we are human, are a sign that we're alive, are a sign that this impacted us. But keep watching, keep observing. Does the person keep pushing through? If the person keeps pushing through, then don't call them weak. Call them strong. See, strength can only be seen when weakness can show. What I mean is, in a situation where I don't have to be strong, you don't know that I'm strong. Strength comes out when weakness is apparent. So when I'm crying, that is showing weakness, but my strength pushes through anyway. So should boys cry? Do boys cry? I'll say yes, we do. I have cried. I've cried oftentimes in my life. I am no weaker than anyone else. Just because I shed tears does not mean I'm weak, does not mean I shouldn't do it. I'm a human being. I have emotions. Just because women cry, it doesn't mean that their tears are any more important than my tears. Their tears are any more important than any male's tears. And it doesn't mean that their tears should not be met with empathy and sympathy, but ours should too. So be careful the next time you see a boy or a man who's having an emotional moment and he cries. Don't tell him he shouldn't cry, but instead have empathy and sympathy for him. Instead, watch how he operates after the tears. Watch how he operates during the tears. Maybe that's going to help him flex his emotional muscle, flex his mental muscle, and show how strong he really is. And be careful when you're telling boys they shouldn't or boys don't cry, who else is in earshot? Girls hearing that too, and how they're interpreting that. My brother should never cry. My dad should never cry. My boyfriend should never cry. My husband should never cry. And if they do, that means they're defective. There's something wrong with them. And that's not the case. They're just being a human being, emoting, showing who they really are, getting those feelings out so they don't suppress them down and they explode one day in ways we don't like. What do you think? Drop a comment. Let me know. Do you think boys should cry? Do you think men should cry? Do you think boys shouldn't cry? Do you think men shouldn't cry? How were you raised? Were you told not to cry as a boy? Did you, as a woman, hear that boys shouldn't cry? Let me know. Drop a comment. Again, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Thank you for listening. I am because we are. Hallelujah, holla back. Peace.
Yeah, the Revelations now televised. A platform for you and I. And now look with full heart and clear eyes. Now, these are just my thoughts. Truth on how I feel on these topics I reveal. Please know my toll, I always keep it real. Can't face the word if you can't face facts. for your time, just open up your mind. That's it, just live, think big, now take that. With God in me, this here was made by design. Yeah, the revelation will be televised.